Motivators family. How are you guys doing? This is Marlene Motivates, and I am your life coach. Welcome, welcome. Of course, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you guys as a fellow motivator. You guys are always welcome. Always welcome. So today, everybody, we're going to be chit-chatting about abandonment and how to deal with it, how to cope after abandonment, after you have been abandoned, because it's something that happens to a lot of people, either from maybe your childhood, or it could be abandonment comes in many different ways. There is abandonment that may happen maybe from your parents. You may have got abandoned by siblings. Maybe your abandonment came from a romantic relationship or friendship. But either way, someone did something that you feel like you were left in a lurch. You feel like you were not treated in a right way. And anybody who has ever been abandoned knows fully that feeling of that loss and wishing that you were accepted and received and loved the way that you deserve to be. And I wanted to have this conversation about abandonment because we cannot blame ourselves for what other people do to us. And I know that that's easier said than done. It's easy for me to say it because you guys don't know me in person. But abandonment is a real thing, and ignoring what happens to us is not the solution. A lot of people, they ignore things, but ignoring it is not the key. Ignoring is not a solution. It's not going to help you. Actually, ignoring a problem makes more problems. And I do get it. When we go through some abandonment issues from people who did whatever they did to us, it will affect all of your relationships, whether you want to believe it or not, because sometimes you'll be in denial, right? I have been in denial in my life about so much things, because that abandonment, it affects how you will parent in the future or in your present. It affects all the romantic relationships that you have. Abandonment affects how you deal with siblings or other relatives. Abandonment also has a lot to do with how you show up, and if you so choose to show up for yourself, or are you going to be a person to ignore the problem? And this is not a judgment zone. I'm not here to judge anybody. This channel is about giving support and encouraging my motivators family to no longer to stay silent or to hide and to feel like you're nothing. Hi Lara, how are you doing? This channel is about not hiding how you feel, but to receive it and say, this is what I went through. My story, my life, it matters, because there's usually some shame attached with abandonment. It makes you feel unworthy. It makes you feel like there was something insufficient inside of you, and that's the reason why I was abandoned. And I wanted to say to the motivators family that just because somebody may have abandoned you, it doesn't mean that there is something wrong with you. Sometimes people abandon because they are going through some mental issues. Maybe they are just not the right person for you. Maybe they just are going through a situation that is bigger than what we know, but for whatever reason, a person chooses to abandon you. Now, I'm not making excuses for what other people do. I'm just sharing the reality of it. Is when you get abandoned, we usually take it personal, right? You know, when it's happened to me and I've been abandoned by somebody that I care about in my life, I definitely felt some type of way. So, I'm going to be talking about 4 things that we can do to help us when we go through abandonment. Now, first, I want to start off by saying that abandonment definitely feels like a rejection. And in that rejection, it's very important for us to not blame ourselves. And yes, that's easier said than done to say, oh, don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. The natural fallback is for us to blame ourselves. I did this, this, and this. And yes, as mature adults, we need to be responsible for the decisions we make and how we treat others. But some things is absolutely not our fault. We have to look at our situation and to come to that conclusion. What is it that I did? And also, what did I allow? You know, in our personal growth and maturity, there's a lot of things that we allow. We allowed people to be toxic to us. We allowed that bad treatment, the bad behavior, and it piled up until one day, because we didn't make a choice to leave, they left us. That's not always the case, but sometimes that's what it is. And it's for our betterment sometimes when people leave our life. And it does not feel like that when you get abandoned. It doesn't feel like it's a gift, it's something good happening, because people who are unstable, toxic, controlling, manipulative, narcissistic, there's a lot of that happens. They always will like to project and make it seem like you were the one. You did it. You did it. And actually, it's not. It's a terrible feeling to it's a terrible feeling to not get the support, not get the love that we deserve. So, we're going to talk about 4 things to help us to deal with that rejection, that abandonment, and that feeling, you know, because it can make you feel very lonely, very vulnerable, and very gullible. And I want you guys to know that it's normal. It's normal to feel some type of way. It's normal. And once you get to this space of you feel that rejection, you need to, the first, admitting. Admitting is one of the hardest things that you can ever do when you get abandoned. It's hard to admit that you were abandoned because the ego takes over. You feel like, oh, I didn't do anything, and it's always them. And yes, sometimes it can be that person doing things to us and in the wrong, but also we have to admit so we don't repeat a cycle of bad behavior or allowing people to treat us in a bad way. And that is very hard. It's very difficult for us to get to that space of admitting what we did, admitting what we allowed, and it can also be on both sides. Either we can abandon other people. Now, what are some of the reasons why people abandon? People abandon because maybe they just don't want to face a situation. They don't want to have those hard conversations about outgrowing the relationship, or that they have moved on, or you're just not what they want right now, or just a person maybe being selfish. It happens a lot. But it's important to have these conversations for us to really process it mentally. What is the reason why the abandonment takes place? Like I said, the first step is admitting whatever happened to you. And that is so hard when someone hurts you, when someone breaks your heart, just leaves you alone, goes to you. You feel disrespected. You feel all types of emotions, and you're entitled to feel that way. And in this step of admitting how you feel is allowing yourself to have enough compassion. I had to really get into that. Is sometimes we can be so compassionate to everybody but ourselves. You got to be compassionate to yourself. You have to think about yourself. What do I need? And sometimes you just need time to process it. You need time to be able to wrap your mind around it and accept that this person is no longer in my life. Maybe down the line, especially if it's something fresh where someone has abandoned you, you don't accept it. You question it and you want to know why. But the first step is admitting it, because we need to get to that solution of processing it in our mind to find out what happened. Was there a breakdown in communication? Was this never good? In that admitting step is when we really get our mind geared towards healthy processing of it, and not just the anger, because in the admitting part, that is so difficult, because when you admit what happens, the first thing is usually anger. You're so angry. How could they do this? Why did they do this to me? And you just keep going back and forth. Why? And you want to answer in a solution, and sometimes in that admitting stage you may not even know why. But that's the first step towards healing, motivators family, is admitting what happened to you. Put all the cards on the table and don't be afraid, okay? The second step is dealing with it. And now I have to tell you that anything in your life that is painful, anybody who has ever been abandoned knows this. You don't want to talk about it. You want to ignore it. You want to push it to the back of your mind. You don't want to have those conversations. You don't want to ask questions. You just want to just say, forget about it, leave it alone. But in dealing with it, you have to find a way to talk about it. Now, everybody is going to be different. Some people talking about it may be taking out a pen and paper and journaling. Some people talking about it is prayer. Some people talking about it is talking with a trusted friend, a mentor, a coach, a therapist. But you have to talk about it in some way, because it's important. When you become abandoned, if you are not careful, you will get in the process of doing the same thing to somebody else. Just like when you get abandoned, then you don't deal with it, you abandon somebody else, and it's not okay. It's never okay. But I did want to say to everybody that it's very important to deal with it. Talking about it however you want to. That's the point right there under this point about dealing with it. Deal with it however you want to, because everybody is different. Some people want face-to-face conversations. Some people want journal. Some people deal with it spiritually. Some people deal with it by giving back and helping to mentor other people who have been through the same thing. That is how I deal with my abandonment issues, is I have to give back and give to other people. And I feel like every time I encourage somebody to believe in themselves and to have confidence and to know that you are not alone, you're not the only person that has ever been through this, I feel like a little bit of my pain, it eases a little bit of my rejection, okay? Now, let's get into the third point. Now, when you become abandoned, you shouldn't feel like you have to do this on your own. Now, I'm going to tell you guys something. When you get abandoned, when you get rejected, the first thing is for you to do is to isolate yourself. Now, you've already had a loss. Either someone left or maybe you left. And you just want to be by yourself to deal with your emotions. And I get that for some time, but don't isolate yourself. One of the best things that you can ever do to get help and assistance with what you're dealing with, you got to lean on others. That is point number 3. You have to lean on others. Don't feel that you have to deal with this life all on your own. This problem, this abandonment. And one of the best things that ever happened to me with someone abandoned me in my life, I needed to talk to people who understood. The best thing that I did after therapy and having a mentor was joining a support group. So whatever it is that you have been abandoned, whether it's romantically, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a relative, or whatever the case may be, whatever abandonment that you received, you need to talk to people who know how you feel. And a lot of times we will want to talk to maybe a family member, but talking to them may be nice and it may ease a little bit of the pain. But if they have never experienced the abandonment like you have, you really don't feel understood, because it's definitely not the same thing to for somebody to listen to you, and another thing when somebody can agree with it and say, I know how that feels. This is how I felt when that happened to me. And for me, that having a support group of people who know what it feels like, because no matter how much you try to talk to some other people in your life who really love you and care about you, nobody can truly understand you like somebody who has been through it like you have. So lean on those people. There's many support groups out there for various type of abuse, abandonment. There's so much support groups, so join them. There's many that are free. They're all over different social media apps. So get the help that you deserve. You don't have to go through this on your own. And initially after my abandonment, I just was in my feelings, crying all the time, upset, angry. I was very dysfunctional. And this life is going to go on whether we face our issues or not. That is the truth about this life. Whether we want to admit something or not, we still have a life that we're going to have to live, or you get left behind, or it's going to start to affect your mental health. And that's not what I want for all of my motivators family. I don't want you to be in a space to where you're struggling mentally. You're struggling with other relationships because of the sadness, because of the anger, because of whatever it is. You deserve to be supported. You deserve to be happy and to feel good about yourself once again. And I know what it feels like to be in that space of feeling rejected, feeling misunderstood, feeling lonely, feel hurt because of what happened to you, especially being abandoned in the time where you needed somebody the most. Those are the hardest things, when you thought somebody loved you, cared about you, and they were nowhere around. Maybe during your time of grief, maybe a time of loss, maybe you lost a job, or maybe you just had the expectation for this person or that person or a group of people to be there for you, and they weren't. It's very important to have those conversations, if possible, if you're dealing with people who are mentally stable, to have a conversation and to let people know, when you did this, this, and this is how it made me feel. It really hurt my feelings when you were not there to support me, and etc. And if you can't talk to the person who abandoned you, disrespected you, either because you don't live in the area anymore, or they passed away, or maybe you're dealing with a person that's not mentally stable, and you know that it would be nothing but more pain and trauma if you confronted them. So sometimes, because we may not be able to confront the person who abandoned us and hurt us, you may need to go and do that letter. I can't tell you guys how much writing letters to people who hurt you is a healing. It detoxes my mind, body, and spirit. Instead of holding everything inside, you can write a letter and you can say everything that you want to say in that letter. It doesn't mean you have to give it to them, but in writing it, you get it out of here. You get it out of your heart. You get it off of your back, that heavy weight. And it is a heavy weight when someone hurts you, when someone rejects you, someone abandons you, when someone was not there for you when you needed them the most. You do need to talk about that. And if you can't talk to the person who hurt you, you got to release it by writing a letter, by joining a support group, talking to a therapist, a trusted friend, giving back. But you got to do something to release that pain. Holding it inside is only going to bring us harm, physical harm, mental harm, financial harm, but it's going to bring us harm, and you're going to take it out on other people that you care about. So it's not the easiest thing to come to this space of being mature enough to say this and this happened to me and this person did this to me. But in doing that, we show not only our growth, but we face our fears, we face our problems, and we find a way to get back into having peace of mind. And peace of mind in this life is something that we all deserve. We all deserve to be at peace. We all deserve to be happy. Lara says, yes, let go of the past and feel free. Yes, it does. It makes you feel so good. Now, this is the part that is hard, is leaning on other people. This is the third point, leaning on others. And leaning on others, when you are not choosing the right people to lean on. Now, don't show up for you and they don't support you. You have to find people who are actually supportive, not just the ones that say they love you, but the ones that show it. They prove it, that they're there for you. They'll listen. They won't overtalk you, and they definitely will not tell you how you feel. I can't tell you guys, I can't emphasize this enough. Don't try to talk to people who don't listen, or when you tell them the pain that you're going through or dealing with, the ones that will tell you get over it. You don't need that in your life, okay? And I want to say this about abandonment. Sometimes abandonment is not that a person did something to physically hurt you. Sometimes we can feel that abandonment when you experience loss in your life, when either someone has passed away in your life that you really love, or a rejection, maybe a breakup of a relationship or a breakup of a friendship. Abandonment has many ways that it can show up. You can feel abandoned or rejected just because the relationship didn't work out the way that you had planned. But in any case, it's important for us to face it and to talk about things. So number one, we don't keep choosing toxic people. We don't keep allowing people to use us and abuse us and to treat us like garbage, because we're not garbage. We're worthy and deserving. You are worthy and deserving, and we don't deserve to get the poor treatment. But first, we have to believe that about ourselves. And the only way to believe that about yourself is facing the abandonment, facing the sadness, facing the pain. And it's nothing wrong with letting yourself shed some tears. It's nothing wrong with reaching out for help. And I was a person that I grew up, it was like very shameful to say you need help. It was like embarrassing, like people looked at you like a weirdo. Oh, you're going to therapy, you're crazy. Things like that people will say. But, at the end of the day, this is your life. And if you're going through something and you feel really sad and you can't get over that hump, talk to somebody that will listen. And a lot of times it's a third party, somebody that you don't know, somebody you don't have any attachment to, like a therapist or a counselor or a mentor, that is really going to give you the help that you need. Hey Metro, how are you doing? Welcome. There's nobody like having somebody who has no ties. They're just there just for you, to listen to you and to not judge you. And unfortunately, sometimes people who know us for a while, they give us advice that's not good advice, because they're not the one that has been rejected, abandoned, disrespected. They're not the one carrying the pain and the weight of what happened in that abandonment. And I want to say to everybody, know how you feel. And if your pain is so heavy on your heart that you're having a hard time coping with life, and it's getting past sadness, maybe you've gotten into the space of depression. I I always want to encourage everybody. This is a judgment-free zone. We're very supportive here. Make sure that you do something for your mental health, for your peace of mind, to release some of that weight, because nobody can carry around the weight of abandonment, and we don't deserve that. You don't deserve it either. So the make sure you get somebody that you can lean on. It's one of the most wonderful things that you have somebody that will just listen to you vent, listen to you, and sometimes it's not that they can understand, but it's that they're there for you. And during the times, anytime when you have a wound in your heart, sadness, pain, heartbroken, whatever the case may be, you have to have people that you can lean on, that are not going to judge you and make you feel bad about yourself. Metro says, I'm doing well. I'm doing better. I hope everyone's doing well. Yes. Metro says, everyone deserves better. No one should be left behind during the abandonment. Yes. But, that's exactly what happens a lot of times, Metro. That's what happens a lot of times. After abandonment, sometimes people don't want to hear about what you went through. Some people don't care about anybody but themselves, and that's not good. And that's why I said you have to lean on supportive people. If you don't have people that support you, you need to find them. And that was something that I had to learn. Stop looking to the people that are in your life that really do not support you or listen to you. You have to find the right people that are there for you. They've always been there for you, but you got to ask for help. And that can be the hard part sometimes, is we don't want to bother other people. You feel like, oh, I don't want to burden anybody with my problems. But people who care about you don't mind listening, don't mind being compassionate and having a listening ear to whatever you're going through. But you got to ask for help, okay? And this is the last point, everybody, about abandonment, rejection, and all of those things. You have to support yourself, whatever that is that you need. Sometimes time is a healer. Sometimes you just need to have some time to process it, and it may get better with time. Sometimes you need more than time. You need other things. You need a combination of many different things. You need the time. You need the people who are compassionate and listen to you and very supportive. You may need a therapist. You may need to journal it. You may need to give back. There's a lot of things that we can do in order to feel our best. And I have to say that sometimes the abandonment that happens in your childhood trauma, people did things to you and left your life. Hi, Wellness. How are you doing? When people leave your life, it's hard. It's very hard. But I just want you to know that you deserve to support yourself. Whatever it is that you need, be patient with yourself. There's a lot of times that we're very patient with other people, but we're not patient with ourselves. So give yourself time to process, give yourself time to heal, and it that abandonment in your time, you have to look to forgiveness, not just for others, not just for the person that hurt you, but also you have to forgive yourself. And why it's important to forgive ourselves is because if you don't forgive yourself for holding on to things, you're going to be angry at other people. It's going to stop your peace of mind. It's going to stop your joy. And that's not what we deserve, Motivators family. And Metro says exactly, Marlene, just have to take things the hard way to survive. And but there are always others willing to support. Everything will take time, and you will heal yourself. Yes, you have to check on yourself. You got to take care of yourself and do all the things that you need to do so that you can be your best. Okay, that's all from here. Hey Nate, I'm just about to end my live stream. Thank